Hi, this is Told. Welcome, and today we're going over some foundation stuff, just a little channel update, and maybe a little retrospective onto Duskmorn. Duskmorn, we did pretty much all the things that we wanted to do. I think Nico was the only card that we didn't really get the combo off with. I think I only opened one in the packs, and so I didn't want to craft it because it's kind of like a meme type of thing. So I think that was the only card that we missed on. Jolly Blue Man, we made one or two videos on, maybe one video on. Wasn't that great of a card, so didn't miss out on that. Um, I did start a new job like 2 weeks ago, and I've been able to keep up with the videos. So far that's been good. Hopefully that continues. My plan was if it started to get bad, I would probably cut it back to 4 videos a week, but I think at least right now, it's pretty good. That being said, Christmas is coming up, and I'm gonna do my Christmas event again, where I open mythic packs, and I take the mythic card, and then I build a deck around that for each of the valid sets in standard. Um, and so we're gonna do a 12 days of Christmas for that. So that'll be starting on the 1st of December. So I might take some time and not post videos that last week of November, just so I can start to create decks, because that does take a lot of time. And I remember last year, even though it was my most successful series that I've had, I used to get 10 views on it. I was so excited, and I'm still so excited when I get like 50 or 100 views on these videos. So I'm really grateful for all the subscribers and people that come back to my channel and watch my content. Um, helps me to keep me going, and I just like having fun making magic decks. So that event's gonna be great for me. So we're gonna be going on with that. So let's get into my top 10 foundation cards. It's not really top 10. I did about 3 or 4 cards from each color. I pulled down like all the cards that I really liked or was thinking about building around, but that was like 100 cards, and I didn't really want to read 100 cards. I didn't want this video to be like an hour long, so it still might be an hour long, even with like 20 cards. But let's get into the cards and see what we're looking at building around. No, that button didn't work. So Bloodletter's Conqueror, I just throw it in there. It's probably a waste of a spot for the black deck, but it's gonna be the new infinite combo that people are gonna be doing. Besides the you know kill you, because I do you lose half your life and then you take double damage with the Bloodletter. Whatever. So this is just a new black card that's gonna be doing instant kill type of card. So yeah, that's gonna happen. But let's get into Midnight Snack. I love a good food deck. 2 and a black. It has raid, so at the beginning of your end step, if you attack this turn, create a food token. So every turn you're going to be creating a food token, and then for 3 mana you can sacrifice this enchantment to target opponent loses X life, where X is the amount of life you gained this turn. So this combos really well with the Enduring Courage or Enduring Tenacity card. Wherever you gain life, opponent loses life. You're trying to do a lot of life gain, and then the opponent's losing life, and then you could sack this one. So if you get some nice life linkers, you're gonna gain life, and you're gonna gain a lot of life, and then you could sacrifice this, and then opponent's gonna lose that, right? So kind of a good card. Make a lot of food. We got the food deck, that's going. That's black and green. So just a nice little food synergies. The 9 lines familiar, 1 and 2 black and 1/1. This is like one of the first spoiled cards for the set. When it enters, you put 8 revival counters on it if you cast it. And then when this creature dies, if it has a revival counter on it, return it to the battlefield with one fewer revival counter at the beginning of the next end step. So there's a couple cards in like the green, the Twitching Doll, right? So you could sack it, and then it's make a number of guys equal to the number of counters on it. So if you have the Soul Cauldron and you put the Twitching Doll under the Soul Cauldron, you can sack this and make 8 little spider guys or whatever. And I think there's one other card. Oh yeah, the blue one, the Vessel, right? So when the Vessel dies, it creates a creature that's equal to the number of counters on it. So there's a way that you could turn the 9-line familiar into the Vessel and then kill it. So just kind of some ideas around that. And obviously you could use this in a sack deck. Sack it, comes back. Chump blocker comes back, type of thing. Tiny Bones, the Bauble Burglar, 1 and 1 black for a 1/3. And then whenever opponent discards, you exile that card from the graveyard, put a stash counter on it. And then during your turn, you could play you could play cards that you don't own with stash counters on them from exile. And mana of any type can be spent to cast those spells. So, and then for 4 mana, 3 and a black, each opponent discards a card, activate only as a sorcery, blah, blah, whatever. You're going to be using regular discard effects to discard cards. But I feel like this card, so 1, it turns all of your discards into exiles, right? So that's just huge right there for number 1. And number 2, I'm pretty sure if Tiny Bones dies, the next Tiny Bones you put out, you'll have access to those cards that are in exile with stash counters because they don't go away. So you can play 4 copies of this Tiny Bones in the deck and, just make your opponent discard a whole bunch. Moving on to green, doubling season, just figured throw that in there. It's a pretty crazy combo maker card. All the planeswalkers, all the other +1/+1 counters, and all that doubling counters, doubling token creations. I don't know if I put the dogs in there, but I'm always into the token cards, like the sorceries cards so like for 2 mana you make 2 creatures, or for 3 mana you make 3 creatures. So there's a new dog card where it's like 4 mana you make 4 dogs. If you have doubling season out, you make 8 dogs. It's pretty sweet. This gonna be something that's gonna be good for 5 years. Eager Truffle Snout, 2 and a green for a 4/2 boar. You guys know I love the boar deck. Gonna bring it back. I don't know if it's gonna be my first deck of the season, but trample. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, create a food token. Boar tribal, I love it. There's a lot of synergies too with increasing that. So I'm definitely gonna make a board deck. Maybe when I get bored. And Finn the Fanebringer or Bearer. Fang Bearer. 1 and 1 green, 1/3. That touch. Whenever one or more creatures you control with that touch deals combat damage to a player, that player gets 2 poison counters. So we have a new poison synergies going on. A lot of death touch creatures. So you could have poison, death touch. That one little insect that should be a rat, but it's not a rat. It has death touch and toxic, and so that'll do 3 poison counters. And then just if you have like Lissa or any other death touch creatures, just you're gonna see this played. It seems like a pretty good poison deck. We really need to start looking at other colors for poison decks besides the green black, blue black, white green. Doesn't really show up, I guess. Maybe it's mostly white. We'll see. Moving on to red. 2 and a red for the Crackling Cyclops for a 0/4. I don't think anyone's ever talked about this card. We have other ones that are like +2/+0, right? Like the Slick Shot, whenever you cast a non-creature spell. This is +3/+0. You cast a Monstrous Rage. That's a 6/4 body with trample. And then I cast another spell, say turn inside out. So then it goes from a 6/4 to a 9/4 to a 12/4 with trample. For just 2 spells, right? I don't know if we've ever seen +3. This is ridiculous. For 3 mana, maybe it's pricey, but, this is ridiculous. Dropkick Bomber. 2/4. 2/3. Other goblins you control with +1/+1. This one just seems like it's going to be fun to be throwing goblins at people's faces. For 1 mana, till end of turn, target goblin gets flying, and when it deals combat damage, sacrifice it. Pretty good. And you gotta throw in the Shivan Dragon. Although I didn't throw in the angel, the Sarah Angel. The Shivan Dragon, though, just iconic. It was in there when I started playing. I started playing Revised. It's 3rd edition back in the day. This is like, one of the best creatures you could have, besides the Singular Vampire and, the Sarah Angel. That was it, pretty much. Yeah. So just excited about this card. I know it's pricey. It's probably, a small body for 6 mana. It's a 5/5. There's like the First Striking Dinosaur Dragon, that makes creatures. There's other stuff that's more powerful. But getting +1/+0 until end of turn for Flame Breathing, pretty good. And Twin Flame Tyrant. 2 red and 3 colorless for a 3/5 dragon creature with flying. And when a source you control would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals double that damage. So if we put the Shivon Dragon out and then we cast this guy, the Shivon Dragon is going to do 10 damage plus 2 damage for each mana that you have available after that. So yeah. And it's just, it's opponent permanents they control and opponents. So they're blocking your creatures, you're doing double damage. If they're taking it to the face, this is a bloodletter on steroids, right? Because it's not just on your turn. It's all the time now that your stuff is going to do double damage. And that would include burn damage, right? So you shock their face, that's 4 damage. You do a lightning strike to their face, that's 6 damage. Moving on. Going on to blue. Aetherize. 3 and a blue. Return all attacking creatures to their owner's hand. So yeah, just a way to stay alive in blue. Blue really sucks, against big token creatures, just so, really great. I'm sure it'll see some play. Is it like a combo card? It's not really a combo card, but blue needs some stuff, and this is, pretty good. A little bit pricey, but take it. Fogbank, 1 and 1 blue for a 0/2 defender with flying, and you prevent all combat damage that will be dealt to and dealt by this creature. So it can't do any damage and it can't take any damage, but it's just like, oh, you're a death toucher that's gonna take away half my life with your stalker. Okay, blocked it. Oh, you're demons coming in, and you remove an oil counter, and we'll see you later if you can't remove it. So I love a good defender cards, and Fogbank's gonna be nice blue card. Homunculus Horde. 3 and a blue, 2/2, and you draw your second card each turn. Create a token copy of this creature. So yeah, you want to be drawing cards on your opponent's turn, drawing 2 cards specifically on your opponent's turn, and you want to draw 2 cards on your turn. And this should be a fun card to build around. I don't know if it's going to be any good. Probably not. Even if you copy it and then draw a card, that would probably be a good way. Well, you're already making the copy. Maybe you draw your second card. I was like, if you copy it, so if you had a way to draw a card when a 2-power creature comes into play, but you're always, whenever you make a token, you're making that. So, but maybe life gain synergy or some crap. So whenever you draw your second card, create a token that's a copy of this creature. So you make a copy, so you have 2 of them out, and you draw your second card, you're making 2 guys. You have 4 of them out, so you draw a card, you're making 4 guys. Anyway, Raise the Past is in there for this one specific card, but we'll talk about Raise the Past first. 2 and 2 white, sorcery, moving on to white, obviously. Return all creatures with mana value 2 or less from the graveyard to your hand. To the battlefield. Not to your hand. To the battlefield. So there's the Dewdrop Cure, which is return 3 2-power creatures or 2 mana value creatures or whatever it is less to the battlefield if you give them a gift. We tried to play that. It's 3 mana. It wasn't quite good enough because a lot of the times you wouldn't have any creatures in the graveyard, right? So you might have that same problem with the Raise the Past. But there's this new card, Heir Apparent, 1 and 1 white for a 2/2, and this is an infinite card like the Slime Against Humanity, which we all know I love. Infinite cards. A deck can have any number of cards named Heir Apparent, and when this creature enters, you create a number of 1/1 rabbit tokens equal to the number of other creatures you control named Heir Apparent. So the first Heir Apparent that you put down, you don't get the 1/1 because it's equal to the number of other creatures you control named Heir Apparent. So you need to put down 2 Heir Apparents. So this is going to be super self-mill and then reanimate everything with Raise the Past. That's how you do this deck. Or there's another card where you can play cards, for 2, power 2, or from the top of your library, that card, and that'll probably be pretty good. But we're gonna try it out. Is it good? I don't know. Maybe you just put 10 of them in. Maybe it's not like Slime Against Humanity where you need a bunch of them. Maybe you just need a handful of them, and that's good enough, right? Like you need 8 of them. Maybe 8's good enough, right? Because you got other stuff that you need to put in, and you're just kind of getting that. I'm gonna get a couple extra rabbits for a 2/2 type of thing. It's also noble. to be interested in Noble Tribal. Linden, the Steadfast Queen, 3 white pips for 3/3 vigilance. When a white creature you control attacks, you gain a life. There's a lot of life gain cards that get +1/+1 counters whenever you gain a life. So you're going to get this trigger on each attack, or each white creature that's attacking, type of situation. So that's going to give you, like, you attack with 3 creatures, you're going to get 3 +1/+1 counters on your creature. So there's I pulled out like 3 cards that do that in the new set. I don't know how many there are existing, but that's an option. Or just gaining life, doing damage to your opponent, gaining life, whatever. Release the dogs. Like I said, I love the cards that are for 4 mana, you get 4 bodies. For the mana cost, you get that number of bodies and creature tokens. Resolute Reinforcements, you get 2 1/1s. There are some situations where you get like a 2/2 and a 1/1 for 3 mana. Those aren't as good, right? Usually these cards you want as many bodies as possible for the mana cost, right? Even Song of Totenzan, for 2 mana you get 1 rat. For 3 mana you get more rats. Obviously you can exit up, but usually for those spells, you're losing a mana. You don't have a 1-to-1 ratio, so this is a really great card. I'm excited about dogs. There's some dog stuff that we didn't get to check out, and hopefully we can get some dogs going, because I know cats are going to be there, but we want the dogs. Moving on to multicolored. Flying, other creatures you control with flying get +1/+1. So, we're on a flying deck. It's Flying Lord. There are birds. Birds, they did okay. This might help them to push birds into an actual archetype. So we'll see how that works out, but that's just the idea. Zamon, the Paradox Sculptor, 2, a green and a blue for a 1/4. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures you control. So when Zamon comes out, if you have one other creature in play, you can make Zamon a 2/5 and put a +1/+1 counter on another creature. And then for a blue and a green, you can tap Zamon and double the number of each kind of counter on up to 2 target creatures and or artifacts you control. So your Forge gets doubled, your, the Millennium Calendar gets doubled, right? And all the creatures, you double them up. So that, that cat that comes back, well, instead of having 8 comeback counters, let's have it have 16. So yeah. Moving on to colorless. This card is nuts. Nutso. Like Adaptive Automation for 3 mana for a 2/2. As this creature enters, you choose a creature type. Creature is a chosen type in addition to other types. And then all other creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1. This is an anthem, like a lord for any creature type. So any creature type that you want, this is a lord for. Boars, this is a boar lord. So it pumps all your boars. Some other rando thing that you want, like nobles I've done in the past, or something else, I don't even know. This is a lord for that creature for 5 years. It's going to be in play. Any single deck you want, you have 4 lords of. Pyromancer Goggles, 5 mana for a legendary artifact, and when you tap it, you add red. And when that mana is spent to cast a red instant or sorcery, copy that spell, and you could choose new targets for the copy. Pretty great. You could use it to not cast red instant or sorcery spells as well. So a little bit pricey, but to be able to double all of your spells, pretty great. And that's it. Yeah, those are my foundation cards that are pared down and interesting to me that I'm looking at building around. And hopefully I'll get a deck out, at the very earliest, it'll be later today after work. If not, it'll be tomorrow morning, hopefully, if everything goes well. So yeah, this has been Told, like, subscribe. See you next time.